Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The state government has shrugged off concerns public services are being put at risk by Tasmania's growing debt. As Parliament returned for the final fortnight before the winter break, environmental approvals were also in the spotlight.
Tassie's headed for $6 billion worth of debt, and Labor wants to know, where's the money coming from?
Will you rule out a program of vacancy control as part of your upcoming budget?
Concerned about the impact on public services of the $300 million efficiency dividend and a levy on short-stay bookings.
Why should tourism operators be the ones to pay for the mess you've made of the budget?
We're very open and transparent with the Tasmanian people about how we're going to fund our commitments. And in this case, it's about our stamping out stamp duty commitment.
The government pointing out an eye-watering bill Tasmanians avoided at the state election.
If I was at breakfast and eating my cornflakes, I would have choked on them because you promised $4 billion. $4 billion worth of election commitments.
Meanwhile, the government's faced questions over environmental management, plans to amend the coastal policy and remove roadblocks for the Robbins Island wind farm, labelled inappropriate by the Greens.
The government received advice in March regarding the application of the state coastal policy. This has created uncertainty in that space.
The policy currently prohibits the construction of a 500-metre wharf through a mobile dune system. The policy is working. It's saying this is a development that shouldn't happen in this location.
Refusing to refer it for federal environmental approvals under the EPBC Act. A process also blamed by the Deputy Premier for 5 years of delays to duplication of the Tasman Highway Causeway, when questioned by independent David O'Byrne.
It is a number one bottleneck for infrastructure projects around the country now.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A teenage girl has told how she feared for her mother's safety weeks before her mum was brutally stabbed in their Ravenswood home. The girl's father, Kerry Lee Whiting, is facing trial over the attack and for killing his ex-partner's new boyfriend.
As the murder trial against Kerry Lee Whiting enters its second week, today a jury heard from his own daughter. She believes he was furious his ex had a new partner, saying when he found out Natalie Harris was dating Adrian Main weeks before the stabbing, he was going up and down the hallway yelling he was going to kill him. Mr. Whiting is accused of following through on the threat on November 25, 2021. The then 14-year-old tried to warn her mother and Mr. Main, saying all I wanted was for Adrian and Mum to know he was going to try and break in, come back and hurt Adrian. Giving evidence, Mr. Whiting also broke into his ex's Ravenswood home in the weeks leading up to the murder, but admitting to the defence her memory is poor. A constable who was on the scene also telling the jury how the floor, walls and the master bed of the property were covered in blood. The two teens having to leave the house through one of the bedroom windows. Lawyers also quizzed the couple's children on the state of their parents' relationship, asking if their father had ever hit their mother. Their son said he had, while their daughter called the situation toxic. The trial continues. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
After much speculation, the federal Liberal member for Braddon has announced he's quitting politics. Gavin Pearce won't recontest the next election after spending 2 terms in the position. That's despite having the largest swing towards him of any coalition MP in Australia at the last federal election. He says the decision was not made lightly, choosing to retire to spend more time with his young family. The Tasmanian Liberal Party will reopen nominations for Braddon as it continues internal pre-selection. Wild weather has lashed the state for much of the day, leaving hundreds without power across parts of the north and northwest this morning. Heavy rain and destructive wind gusts of more than 100 kilometres an hour causing havoc, tearing down power lines and trees. The severe weather also damaging the transmitter on Mount Barrow, temporarily taking out commercial broadcast capabilities across the north this afternoon. A sea of red is making a return to Tasmania as the annual Paint the Town Red initiative gets underway, calling on community, business and households to join in on the festivities and to light up shops and homes. It's set to warm up the state this winter.
pouring everything into the city's upcoming winter festivities. Local businesses are doing their bit to help cast a red glow over Tasmania.
It's a chance for them to light up red, to put on some red cocktails, put on some red sheets in the hotels. There's some really interesting activations that are going on.
The annual colour splash aiming to send a warm welcome to locals and visitors, encouraging revellers to embrace the winter chill.
Enjoy the buzz of the city. And it's a chance just to really embrace winter rather than sort of burrowing in and hiding away from the cold.
It's also a chance for businesses to shake things up over the colder months.
It allows us behind the scenes to have a bit of fun with brainstorming and put together the ideas and then see them come to fruition for our local guests to enjoy.
And every year when Dark Mofo comes around, it's always good fun to go and venture into the red sort of drinks and have a little bit more fun with it.
Despite some of Dark Mofo's iconic winter offerings taking a break this year, it hasn't left a sour taste and locals aren't fretting over the region's tourism prospects, with other events like the Winter Feast expected to help boost Tasmania's economy.
What we find is guests who are attending the Winter Feast tend to disperse after the event, and we find that that actually increases the traffic from their local guests.
Tasmanians are encouraged to help in the campaign by taking part in a special photography competition.
Pull out prizes for the best competitors.
Rebecca Gaidaneris at 7, Tasmania News.
Work is beginning on a new $15 million public diagnostic breast care centre in Hobart. The government says the facility, located at the Liverpool clinics, will be finished by the end of next year.
It will provide increased capacity, greater opportunities and financial support.
Getting diagnosed earlier will be huge, particularly in terms of the level of stress, level of anxiety, level of cost that people face. So in the private sector.
Breast Screen Tasmania sees around 36,000 people a year. The Jack Jumpers coach has raised the alarm over the state of Tasmania's basketball infrastructure. After visiting the majority of the state's courts, Scott Roth says all bar one are in desperate need of upgrades to keep up with the sport's surging popularity.
We have everything going for us. We just need the facilities because the amount of growth has been unparalleled, I think, anywhere in Australia. And the amount of kids that are trying to play is tremendous.
The championship coach has also weighed in on the future high performance centre, saying until he sees dirt moved, it remains a wait and see process. Hockey Tasmania has partnered with the state's leading sports institute, hoping to see the popular game grow. There's a focus on making the sport more accessible to regional communities, seeking out talented players who may one day represent state and country.
Two big sides joining the same team.
Whether you live in Hobart, Launceston, Burnie, Devonport or Smithton for that matter. This program is going to touch all our hockey community.
The Tasmanian Institute of Sport signing on to Hockey Tasmania's Tigers Academy Pathway program from next year, hunting for talented Tasmanians wherever they may be.
8-week to 12-week blocks spread out across the year, where our best athletes are getting consistent training and developing.
It follows recent national success for hockey, and with the 2032 Brisbane Olympics on the horizon, there's a call out for potential players and coaches.
This is a really good talent identification opportunity for us. The TIS have started to do that in cycling and rowing, so again we hope that we can see that in hockey.
Registration for the academy will open in October and November, with information sessions to be held in the months beforehand for new players who could just be the next big hockey stars.
Programs like this are only going to develop the next Eddie Ockington or Maddie Brooks. We want to see more of those kids coming through for our sport, playing for their country. And this is very much the stepping stone to be able to do that.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
Fun has been at the forefront of a community play date, marking the first International Day of Play. Dozens of families joining in rainy day activities to highlight the importance of it for both children and adults.
Recognised by the United Nations, International Day of Play is no joke. The day signifies the importance of play for children's learning, well-being and development.
Sometimes it's really hard to express who you are and connect with other people.
but through play, you might be connected with objects around you or with concepts that you have in your mind, but through those concepts and through those objects, other people can enter into that space with you.
Dr. Smith says play helps build relationships, overcome trauma and problem solving. It also helps to develop young people's cognitive, creative, social and emotional skills.
Research tells us that play is particularly important for young children in that first 4 years, because that's when brains develop.
4-year-old Ryan in no doubt what his favourite play activity is.
Train track.
Dr. Smith, who has studied neurodevelopmental disorders, stresses the importance of play throughout our lives.
Sometimes people who are neurodiverse can't respond directly with us, but they can, through their actions of play, show us how we can enter into their lived experience and play with them.
Adults playing with children also considered the best way to remain young at heart. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
As Scott Roth starts thinking about the new season during the tail end of his holidays in Florida, he says re-signing Jordan Crawford was a no-brainer because his leadership, even while on the bench, is hard to replace. Roth's about to send a group text message to the squad telling them to put their inaugural championship behind them and prepare for pre-season. Happy with the roster he's locked in.
The big key for me is to retain our guys, is to have this 6 or 7 guy core group to continue to move through over the next few years. And now we have guys coming back in their 4th year, some guys coming back in their 3rd year, which is, I think, a huge advantage.
Roth won't be rushing teen prodigy Roman Silepa onto the court, aiming to get him at match ready for the following season. Scott's meeting up with new import Craig Sword for lunch in Florida tomorrow. The Glenorchy Knights are waiting to see who they'll play in the Australia Cup after claiming the Lackasaljak Cup in a blockbuster last night. Glenorchy booted the equaliser right at the death before Stefan Caldwell sealed it for the Knights midway through the second extra time.
I think the whole group is more than capable of competing on the national stage. Obviously the level of opposition is quite high, in particular if you draw an A-League side, but that's something that we look forward to.
The Australia Cup's round of 32 draw takes place tomorrow night. An impressive run of form from Lauderdale veteran Sam Sickens is a good sign for the Tassie State team, a fortnight out from a trip to the Sunshine State. The 3-time Lynch medalist notching up 31 disposals, 12 clearances, 8 marks and 4 goals for the Bombers in the weekend's commanding win over Launceston. Alan Christensen's step back from playing hasn't hurt the team's on-field performance either.
Obviously having Bundy up in the box is certainly helping us, and gets that bird's eye view and gets to see the way we set up as a team.
Siggins will join Tassie when they face Queensland on the Gold Coast before hosting Sydney and Canberra. Matthew Wade's been slapped with a breach for dissent after taking issue with the decision to not rule this delivery a dead ball during Australia's T20 World Cup win over England. There's no penalty, it's his first merit point in 2 years, and he admitted to the complaint that was levelled by umpires. There's an Olympic spot on the line for Hobart's Max Giuliani through to tonight's final in the 200-metre freestyle after qualifying 4th fastest in a tight second-place finish in this morning's heat. Fellow Tasmanian and Miami teammate Matilda Smith also finishing second in her heat this morning and also qualifying 4th fastest for tonight's final in the 100 breaststroke. Launceston export Ariane Titmus falling just short of her own world record to qualify for the 400 free last night. Queenslander Emma McKeon is the oldest woman to qualify for the Australian swim team in more than 3 decades, making the 100 butterfly aged 32. Kaylee McEwen setting a Commonwealth record in the 200 individual medley. And 2 Launceston weightlifters are returning victorious from the National Championships in Perth. Seth Fox missing his personal best by just 1 kilo in the clean and jerk, winning both the under-20 and under-23s 80 kilo division. Bridget Martin winning the women's under-20s with a personal best total.
Good evening. Hobart and Devonport 15 degrees today, Launceston 13, Burnie a top of 14 degrees. Friendly Beaches with our high, 16 there. King Island, Grove and Bushy Park 15. Lots of 14s around the state today, and Lyawini reached a top of 6. Best rainfall to 9 a.m. was 59 millimetres at Targa near Mount Barrow, while today to 4 p.m. Mount Victoria out behind Ringarooma registered 37 millimetres as more cloud covered Tasmania and moved off to the east with that cold front. Most of the mainland was cloud free today, just that cloud pushing over Western Australia and some over eastern Victoria linked to the system near us. Tomorrow a high centre will sit over South Australia, and with the front to our east it looks like some pretty cold southwesterlies are headed our way, and they should blow up to around 35 knots over all coastlines tomorrow and to 20 knots over the southwest lakes. Swells at 5 metres in the west and south. Gale warning has been issued from Sandy Cape right around the state to Low Rocky Point, a strong wind warning for remaining waters along with the inland lakes. We also have a minor flood warning for the north and south-east rivers and a warning to sheep graziers for the south-east district. Hobart, a top tomorrow of 10 degrees, 10 only for Geeston as well. Showers easing from Bothwell, 1 overnight, 7 the top. Launceston cloudy and 11 degrees, 12 the high for Devonport. Cressy a possible shower, 10 the maximum. All very low numbers, aren't they? Just 11 for Burnie and Strawn. Showers easing from Curry, a windy day on King Island, 13 the maximum. 11 for St Helens and Swansea, and also 11 for Orford as a shower or two continues there. On Thursday, a shower over the west and south, falling as snow on the higher peaks. A light shower over the south and east on Friday, otherwise fine after more frost and fog. And a cold start as well to the weekend with another shower over the south and east. Showers in Perth tomorrow, an early shower clearing from Adelaide, 13 in Melbourne as showers ease there, partly cloudy in Canberra and Sydney, a sunny warmish day in Brisbane. Still a bit of cloud about, 10 degrees in Hobart, 10 in Launceston as well, and 12 degrees in Devonport. The Peter Gutwin walk continues tomorrow from Perth, the 50k's to Campbelltown, well as his entourage. He's got his extra T-shirts, running shoes and snorkel and flippers just in case.
You needed them today. Thanks, Murph.